wind. But still, man, it's windy out there. Oh, I'm silly. I'm regretting not wearing a sweater. But it's okay. Well, I don't know if anyone's on stream yet, but hello. Sorry I'm a minute late, or well, a couple minutes late getting started. I need to go check on some things and had a water spill I had to clean up out here, so hope you're all doing all right. Good morning. So, yeah, Andy. Yeah, that could be it. Okay, so, yeah, I guess I'll give people a chance to get on or give my stream manager a chance to catch up if not reporting any viewers yet. So, let's see, I'm just refreshing it to see if there's anybody on the stream. Still doesn't show any. There might be. I mean, sometimes it's out of sync, so I'll just kind of wait a minute or two here before I really get into any content. Nice sunny day, but chilly again. Oh, there's a dog. There are dogs in our backyard that I don't recognize. Daydina, who are those dogs?
That looks like Ziggy. No,
it's not Ziggy. That's a German Shepherd.
A German Shepherd.
I don't recognize those dogs. Go out front and see if there's anybody out in the road looking for a dog. They look like they know where they're going, but I don't. Okay, sorry everyone. So, some dogs just walked through our yard and I don't recognize them and they look lost, so I'm going to get on. We have a Facebook group for our neighborhood, and so I'm going to get on there and see if anyone's looking for a dog. I mean, the dogs, they're clearly lost because they don't belong here, but they kind of look like they were going somewhere. You know, like sometimes you see a dog and they're like on their way somewhere. That's what those guys look like, but I don't recognize them. So let me see. Anyone missing I'm just posting this on Facebook. Just saw a German Shepherd and Beagle walk through my backyard. Okay, so anyway, hopefully they either find where they're going or the person that's looking for them finds them. I usually, I mean, they went up oh, here they come again. Hold on a second. I'm gonna try to get these guys in my yard so that so that whoever's looking for them can come here. I'm gonna go close my gate. I'll be right back. So, let's see. All right, hi everyone. So, yeah, I don't know. They went by again, and then I couldn't get them. So if they come back in, I'm gonna try to get them in the yard, and then and then we'll get them back to their owners, hopefully. I mean, I posted it on Facebook, and the way that the part of the neighborhood they're in is pretty, like, they're going to stay in the neighborhood probably. They're not going to be able to get out to the main road, hopefully. So, because it's just other houses back in that area. So hopefully they'll get somewhere. But with my kids in the backyard, they may or may not come in the backyard. But they're going to keep an eye on it. So, yeah. Anyway, I just hate the idea of somebody losing a dog, right? I mean, that's such a terrible situation. So, if I can help them get reunited, I always try to. So, anyway. Well, hi everyone. So this is, oops, my computer just froze. Just logged me out. Went to sleep. Okay, so hopefully projecting okay and things are coming through. Okay, good. Looks like everything's all right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So today I'm going to be talking about several different tools that are useful in the practice of digital journalism. So this is my continued series in introducing the digital methodology modules in some detail and then giving you something you can try. For this one's not going to be organized quite as like the other sessions that I did already. I'm going to really be giving you like a tour of several different tools, and then if you can think of what I'm inviting you to do in Slack is brainstorm some topics that might be useful for these different tools. Useful or well suited to these different tools, and then we can try them out if we have time. I don't know if we'll have time. I might have to be called away again to find some dogs, but now somebody's ringing our doorbell. I'm sure it's my kids. Anyway, so as you can see in the 10 o'clock hour, the idea was that people were curious about is Sammy the Eagle, the mascot at UMW, but of course we didn't have time to actually really investigate it. Ultimately, I'll say this: with the digital journalism module, really the journalism is the hard part, and that's why this is probably the hardest module. So if you like don't have a story already to tell, or you don't think you can find one in a couple weeks, then this might not be the module for you, but it's something that it still can be done really well. So I'll just say a couple general comments about the module and describe some examples of prior work. So one of the really interesting ones is last year, which the student decided ultimately not to share it or publish it, so I can't show it to you, but it was a timeline and using Timeline.js. Timeline.js is one of the tools that people use for this. And she went through, you might remember last year, a big story in the news was various people, like the governor of Virginia, it turned out, had photos of them or someone near them wearing blackface. And there were lots of people embarrassed by that, and lots of high-profile people with those kind of revelations. So a student in DGST 101 last year went through old issues of the Bullet and the yearbook at Mary Washington to find examples of people wearing blackface or other kinds of culturally inappropriate costumes, and found several, and then put those on a timeline so you could see how over time, I mean, I guess one of the big takeaways from it was that over time you saw that those stopped happening, like that they pretty much were very common in the 1940s, relatively common, I guess, and then pretty much non-existent by the 1960s. So that was good, I mean, in a sense. But it's still really interesting, and Timeline.js was a good tool for that because you could see how that story changed over time and where the concentration of those were happening. So it's interesting. Other things you might think about. People are yelling. Other things that you might think about for this. So this is journalism, but if you think about stories that you can tell using digital tools, thinking of this more generally as a kind of creative nonfiction might be useful. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now that are interesting and might be worth documenting. Also, they're kind of painful and difficult to talk about, so maybe you don't want to do it this way. But I've been thinking increasingly about how difficult and strange this time is, and how in a few years from now I might want to look back on what I was thinking and feeling now. And so a digital story might be a way to record and share that. I mean, that's a thought. Obviously, whether that's something you feel like you can do, that's up to you. But just as an example of that, another kind of project I've seen people do with this is use timeline to tell a story about a friendship. So to go through Instagram posts and get pictures of a particular group of friends at different key events in the changing friendship, and tell the story of that friendship. So it's a creative nonfiction. It's journalism, I guess, but it's a kind of nonfiction storytelling, and that kind of thing I think could be really powerful, especially right now, to talk about the ways that your life has changed over the last few weeks, and how we think about the world now. There's a lot, and so this might be a thing to tell a story about using one of these tools. So I also will say with digital journalism, often a general category of digital journalism is data-based journalism, or interactive journalism, or stories that use interactive graphics. Those can be very compelling and interesting. There's a lot of that right now. There are a lot of like New York Times and Washington Post and Wired have been publishing things about the coronavirus, and they're very compelling and rich, very interesting, but also very scary. And so I'm not going to be talking about those today, but it is in a way a good moment for that kind of journalism, for that kind of database journalism, because helping people understand the situation really requires sometimes sophisticated presentations of data. And I think people are getting pretty good at that, and readers are getting to the point where we can expect that and interpret that. So, it is a good moment in that sense. I wouldn't call it a silver lining, but I think it's still noteworthy that there is a lot of good digital journalism going on right now. But that's not what I want to talk about, because it's stressful and scary. So instead, I want to talk about some tools, and then invite you to think about the kinds of stories that might be appropriate for these tools. So I'm going to start with a group of tools by Night Lab, and Night Lab is a foundation and working group, I guess, out of Northwestern University, and I think this is out of their journalism school, actually. And I'm going to close the door. My son is being loud. Okay, so Night Lab, they make Timeline.js, which you've seen for the digital archaeology projects. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it, but just I want to show it to you, and I've mentioned it a couple times, obviously. And this is what those students that I mentioned did last year for both the Instagram story of friendship, and also the story of instances of blackface. And like you've seen with it, you can embed lots of different things. You can have events, you can have you have to have events, and you have to have media, or you can have media with each event. Different kinds of media, and this demonstration one here is meant to showcase the different kinds of things you can embed. So this is good if you have a story to tell with key events in it. So it's a time-based story, obviously something that changes over time or develops over time, but that has specific discrete events within it. That's something that's pretty endemic to this tool that you would want to make sure to do. So another tool that is also time-based, or can be time-based, is Storyline, but this works a little bit better if the story you're telling has a change over time that also can be tracked through gradual changes. And this is an example of what one looks like. It's looks like, what is this one? Median income over time, and then different key events related to changes in income, I think, or economic recovery or something like that. So this is one, this is, like I was saying earlier, you're seeing a lot of graphs like this now for either the stock market or unemployment or the coronavirus, and they're all pretty scary, but this is the kind of tool that you could use to tell that kind of story, or to tell that kind of thing. So let me show you how to actually work with it. And I'm not going to do a real world kind of story, but this one is like Timeline.js in that you use a spreadsheet, but this one works a little differently in that you can set up your own spreadsheet. So I'm just going to make up some numbers, but if you have a suggestion for something that I could do here as just a made up thing, that would be okay. So I'm going to so this is just a new spreadsheet, And I'm going to make, this is another storyline demo. And I'll show you a couple things. So let's do year for this column, and then let's do let's see. Age. I guess I'll just do my age or someone's age. But let's do. So the first column is a column of years, and one of the neat things about spreadsheets you may not know is if you start off a series like this, 1900, 1901, and then you select like I'm doing here. I think you can see this. And then the bottom right, there's a little black or the blue dot there. If you click on that blue dot and then drag, it will automatically fill in the next however many cells with the same series, continuing the same series. And it does it has a lot of pretty interesting pre-built series. Let's see. It also understands like patterns. So if you do like 1900 and then 1905, it will increase by 5s as you go down. Pretty neat. You can also does date interpolation. So if you do like Mondays, you know, it'll map, figure that out pretty automatically. I think you can do colors too. Maybe not. Let's try it though. No, you can't. Okay, but it repeats that pattern. Anyway, so that's just a neat little trick. So let's do age. I'm not going to do my actual age, but I mean I could, but I don't really want to. I'm going to make a few more down here, and then let's say we're just describing a person who was let's say was born in, I don't know, 1908. Yeah, like UMW, right? Isn't that when we were founded? So let's do 0 here. 0 for all of those. And then we'll do 1, 2, oops, not 23, 2. So this is just going to be a linear sequence, right? It's just going to go up year by year. So not a very interesting graph, ultimately, but it will make a graph, and that's what I wanted to show you. So we'll go all the way up to 1967. And so what else do we need? Here we are. So it tells you make a spreadsheet, you make one column that has your date or time in it. The headings actually don't matter because you're going to tell it later which headings to use for which type of thing. And then we tell the stories in a series of cards, so we need to define those cards as corresponding to specific points in our spreadsheet. So each of those is going to have a title, a text, and a date. I've already got the title, I've already got the date, so I just need to come up with a few dates. That is when UMW was founded, or Mary Washington College, or the normal school of the state of Virginia. So we need a title and text column, and so we'll say UMW is founded. This is when it began. Whatever. So yeah, that's one event, and that should be enough to demonstrate how this works. So let's go back here to storyline. It says, okay, you have to create it. You add those types of columns. You publish it to the web. File, publish to the web. What have we been doing? All right. Copy that link. That's something else. Then we go in here and paste it in. Oh, not to publish to web. Okay, so this is the same issue that Timeline.js had. Let's try that one. It's not working. Okay, it's not happy about something. Let's see. This worked at the 10 o'clock hour. Make sure you published it. Okay, so publish to the web, entire document. Yep, it's publishing. Let's try it again. Okay, there it goes. So what it's done then, it went into my spreadsheet and it found the header names, and it's asking me to tell it what headers what they mean. So It's asking me how the dates are formatted, what the columns look like. The data is going to be the age, and let's call it age, and then titles and text. And I use these names, but you could actually use different names. Or if, like, let's say you found a spreadsheet that someone else had made and it had different column names, you could insert that here and it would work too. Because unlike, so like Timeline.js is structured so that you have to use the exact column names, and if you change those, then it messes up. But here you tell it what the column names are and what to do with them. So that's what's happening here. Okay, so this is it. I mean, this is what it looks like. And just like Timeline.js, you either get a link to it so you can look at it in its own tab, or you can embed it in a blog post or something. Let's take a look at it. So there we are. So that's just one slide here, but now that I've published this and I've got this URL for it, and you can see there's all this data embedded in the URL, I can just update it whenever there's a key event. Something happened. Something significant happens here. So I don't know what. So let's see what that looks like. 1925, yeah, so these show up as slides and you can jump along these. So that's Storyline.js. Obviously, not a very interesting story here, but if you had a more interesting story, you can certainly tell it, especially if you have a story where there's a more interesting line that changes. Their example that they have is, there was one about median income, but there's also one they have, if you click on their demo file, I think that one has to do with temperature change, global temperature averages. So another one that has some curves and up and down. It doesn't have to be a straight line like mine was. It's just that was easier for me to create right now. So that's Storyline.js. Again, certain kinds of stories are well fitted for that. Okay, so this one is actually pretty neat. This is Scene VR. Let me go back out to show you how to get to that. So Night Lab. Let me just make sure you all have the links to these. So these are also linked on the module page, but just, it's good to have multiple places to link to things. So Scene VR, and well, let me show you an example. Their example is better than my example. VR is great, obviously, for helping people understand what it's like to be in a place. And this is, their example one has a scene of the aftermath of Katrina, and it's a 360 photo, so you can spin it around in a web browser, but if you had a headset, you could look around in that moment, in that place, and kind of imagine what it's like to be there. So that's a good journalistic use of VR. You can use it for more creative things too, obviously. But what we're talking about here is not like the interactive, or not interactive, but not like the full motion video kind of VR where you would be like riding a roller coaster or like walking around in a space, but like just being in a place and looking around it's a low level kind of VR, but it is VR. And they've got this tool here that makes it really easy to create and share something like that. The thing is, you do have to have 360 photos. You have to have photos that have been prepared or taken of a 360 degree scene, like taking an image like that. But even just, even just regular JPEGs do okay, I found. I haven't actually tried this with a headset yet. Welcome to the sea. I just happen to have a bunch of SpongeBob episodes on this computer. So that's what I have on this, and that's what this is, an image from an episode of SpongeBob. And if you want to see what it looks like, you click this share button over on the right and then hit the preview, and then you can kind of look around in it. Obviously, it looks a little weird, but it's better than I expected, honestly. Like it's obviously not fully immersive to be. I don't really feel like I'm in a pineapple under the sea, but I can look around in this space in a way that's more compelling than what I sort of expected to. So, okay, interesting. Jessica, I'm still going. Jessica. It says I'm still broadcasting. So maybe refresh. Yeah, so Jessica, I don't know, you maybe can't hear me, but it says it's working. So I'll give you all, it looks like several people are typing, maybe with advice or other problems, so I'll let you all figure that out. Okay. All right, great. Yeah, I do wonder, like sometimes. So this happened before. Whenever I pulled up like a really complex graphic that was actually asking a lot of my web browser, and I wonder if it just sort of chokes the stream somehow. Because that's what I just did. Where I was looking at an interactive 3D graphic. So maybe somehow that switch the software that I'm broadcasting with maybe it struggles. So it looks like Andy's typing too. So hopefully everyone's on. I've got 7 viewers, which is what I had before, so hopefully that's still everybody. Okay, well hopefully you can watch, and if not, then okay, great. Well, I'm glad you're back, Andy, but I'm sorry that you had to restart your computer to do that. So I'm gonna keep going. I mean, it's recording, I think, so if nothing else, it'll be online later. Okay, so this is another tool called Wakelet. I didn't mean to show you this next, but I happen to have this tab up, and it shouldn't have the same kind of complex graphical problem as the other things. So the neat thing about Wakelet is that it lets you curate a story that's happening like now. It lets you collect things on the web and then put them together into a single story. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on right now in the world, and people are talking about them on places like Twitter and YouTube. And what this lets you do is collect a bunch of things into one space to tell a particular story. This can be particularly useful for, especially like on Twitter, when things happen on Twitter, sometimes like looking at it after the fact I find really challenging, like understanding who is talking and to who and who said what first. I don't think Twitter does a great job of showing you a complicated thread very well. So if you noticed one of those and you learn about it, or if you were participating in it, you can tell that story later using this tool here. So you can add a cover image, you can add a background image. Yeah, let me just add a background image just because. Where's my SpongeBob? Hopefully this doesn't cause issues with the stream. But yeah, so you can just customize it to make it look a certain way. And so when you want to add things to it, this looks kind of like the new WordPress editor where you have blocks, but you click blocks here and then you can add, you're actually just embedding things. You can add text like hello, this is text. And again, that's useful if you're trying to explain something. You want to provide context to explain the background that someone needs to know. Can I edit this or not? This is where I would provide some background information or context. But then this is where you can start embedding things. And you can embed tweets. I've already linked my Wakelet account to my Twitter account, so that's necessary apparently for me to search for something. So if you want to see kind of what's going on at UMW, oh nice, okay, so there are some UMW libraries I've been tweeting. So, oh, there's Mary Washington coloring pages, neat. Okay, so you can click on however many you feel like adding, and I don't know what that is. Something about Wolf Blitzer. I don't know. So you can add all these tweets, and then you've got like a story you can tell here. And so, but you can add, the idea is you can then add between these something that explains what Wolf Blitzer was talking about. I don't know. I didn't actually look at that. But then like that looks like it might be on YouTube too. So like if you also find that on YouTube, you can go to YouTube and embed a video from there. You can also embed things from just random images, PDFs, any link essentially will work. So like this is one I was looking at earlier. I don't know, this might look okay too. Let's just try this. This is the Eagle Explorer. This is what I was using earlier to try to find out about the history of Sammy the Eagle. But yeah, I mean, even just the basic web page embed looks pretty decent. So if you just are linking to a specific web page or like a Wikipedia article, that goes here too. And as you can see, the sequencing helps you tell the story that you want to tell with this. And so it's a pretty powerful tool for that kind of thing and really convenient. So I think it could be a really good tool for this digital journalism project, especially if you're trying to tell a story about something that's going on right now. And there's obviously a lot going on right now. Okay, so let me get back to, oh, and by the way, if you have questions about any of these as I'm doing the demo, please ask in Slack so I can show you. Okay, let me get back to Night Lab. A couple more projects there I wanted to show you. And so I looked at SceneVR, storyline, story map. So this is pretty cool. This is a different kind of editor, but it is kind of the twin or the converse of Timeline.js, and its editor is pretty different. This is some kind of demo I made a while ago. Yeah, so I don't know what this is. The editor for this is a lot more like an editor, like a slideshow kind of editor, like PowerPoint or Google Slides. And so the thing is that you'll have some media for each slide and a location, and I think you can do other things like customizing shapes on it. I haven't used this tool a whole lot, but at least the basic uses of it are typically like you have a location. I don't know what this picture is here, but it works essentially like a slideshow where you just kind of click left and right to move through the story, and that's kind of it. How do I get back? Oh, yeah. So then to add a story, to add an event, you add a slide. They use the terminology of a slide. So let's just say, I don't know, I'll just make a slide for Kenmore Park. And then you have to actually either have some media to upload, or you can embed URLs from the web like you can do with other things. So I'll just do another SpongeBob picture. So there you go, and it's a beautiful. And then you can preview it. So sometimes in the past, students have used this for their digital archaeology projects. If you have this, but you notice that you don't have time built into the way it's presented, so you have to add that into your slide descriptions, and that doesn't accomplish that communication quite as well. So it's something that you need to think about what your story is. You also don't have a lot of options with the map, I think. You might be able to change the base layer for the map, because there's different map types. So if you wanted something a bit more impressionistic, you could have this map, which looks pretty cool. But this one, of course, lacks detail, so it looks nice. But if detail is important to your map, I wouldn't use this one. I don't believe you can use Google Maps. Yeah, you can't use Google Maps. You can actually upload a gigapixel image. So if you have if you have some other map or some other gigantic image that you want to move through in piece by piece, you can actually use it here. You have to have your image prepared a certain way first, and it takes some work, but I have seen someone do that for a project. Okay, so let's see. Jessica has a suggestion. Oh, yes. That would indeed be okay. So yeah, I don't know if you all know this story that Jessica's mentioning, but it is a story that should be told, I guess, because it's true and it happened and it was embarrassing. So I can tell you a couple of things that may help you tell that story, Jessica, if you want, which is that one of the things that gave that story a lot of momentum whenever it first came out was that the audio and video of her making the call was available. It was published under a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request. So you could watch it, and it was very awkward and embarrassing. And certainly the UMW does not publish a copy of that. Interestingly, it was published on the Freelance Star, like the Fredericksburg.com, the Freelance Star, the local website, the local paper's website. They published the story with the video and the audio, and I realized like a couple years ago that like no one else had that video or audio hosted anywhere else. I couldn't find it. I wanted to find it and I couldn't. I emailed the webmaster for the Freelance Star, and he said that they had like redone their entire website and didn't have an archive of it. Like they just they didn't keep a copy of the old website somehow, which I think is crazy. But they didn't have it. But I did a lot of looking in the Wayback Machine on web.archive.org, and I did eventually find, kind of miraculously, the audio and the video of that call. So if you would like that for your digital journalism about that event, I have that. I need to put it on YouTube or something, but I haven't. I basically have them as separate files, and I want to sync them together so it's actually a video that you can watch and hear at the same time. So maybe I can do that and then share that if I can find it. Yeah, I need to find. Actually, I have the video. I need to look for the audio, but I know where the video is on my computer. It's a black and white security cam video. So anyway, yeah, an interesting and embarrassing event in UMW history. Not the only thing that's ever happened that was embarrassing. But there you go. All right, so as I mentioned with Story Map, one of the main limitations is that it's just a place, and then a line between those places. You don't have time. And there is another tool called Time Mapper, which does both of those things. I broke it earlier, like I tried to get it to work, and then it ended up, I got it to work, but then I messed something up, and then it didn't work anymore, so I'm not going to mess with it now. I'm just going to show you their sample. So this is their sample of a time mapper, and what I like about this is that it combines both place and time. And so you get a timeline at the bottom, like you would get from Timeline.js, and you get a map at the right, kind of like you would get from StoryMap.js. These things are all kind of confusing, by the way, these different tools to keep straight, because pretty much all of them have, like, there's like story, there's line, there's map, and then just sort of rearrange all of those, and then you get all of the possible tools here with all of those. So because there's timeline, time map, story line. There's not story time, as far as I know, but there should be. Anyway, so this is what this looks like. I think you're kind of limited a bit in terms of how the map is presented, and it emphasizes dots like a flag as a location. It doesn't let you kind of draw an area and make that the location. So I think that's a limitation. There might be a way to do that, but I have not discovered that, and when I tried to play with it earlier, I broke it, so I don't want to do that right now. But this is another useful tool for certain kinds of stories that have time and place as an important factor to keep in mind. Okay, I think I'm about done with these. Let me see what else I might need to talk about. Oh yeah, juxtapose. Let me get back into the main page. Juxtapose and sound site those are probably going to be most useful if you've already got a story that's text-based and you want to augment them with something, and so these are both two interesting things you can augment them with. Sound site lets you make some part of your text a clickable audio link, and let's see, I don't know if you can hear, yeah, it's not, the audio is really messed up on this particular computer I'm using, so the fact that you can't hear anything is not a problem with sound site, it's a problem with the computer that I'm using. It has some issues with the sound driver. So but normally when you click on that link, you can hear the sound of this crowd that is being described in this paragraph. So it's another way to immerse a reader in a story to help them hear what it sounds like to be there. And sometimes sound can be more immersive than images. I think having both is good, but this is a way you can do sound. Let's see, and then juxtapose is a way to compare images, and this one I believe is the Olympic Village in Sochi for the Winter Olympics, and you can see what it looked like before, and this is 2005, and then this is 2013, so you can see the obviously very dramatic change. So anywhere you have a big change or you want to compare two images, the juxtapose is a good way to do it. it's a particular kind of comparison. So, you know, certain things. So they have to basically they have to line up. Like they have to be two straight on images of the same thing, basically, and they have to be kind of synchronized and maybe cropped in order to make it as close of a match as possible. I don't know. I mean, I can certainly imagine one thing that people are noticing and documenting right now is the way in which all of the social isolation and stay-at-home orders have changed public spaces, places that are normally crowded currently are not. And so some people have been taking those pictures, and so it might be interesting if you have something like that, or if you can think of one, to look at a picture from a certain place, in a typical kind of crowded way, versus how it looks right now, kind of empty. Then that comparison might be pretty interesting with juxtapose. Pretty easy to do. You create it by you have to have an image uploaded somewhere else, so you don't upload an image directly to juxtapose. It's just something that you have hosted on your own website or maybe on Imager, and then you so these are already here, and then you add the credits if you want, and then you preview it, and that's what it looks like, and then you publish it. They give you some code that you just sort of stick in place. So it's an iframe. You can embed that in a blog post in WordPress, or link to it like you can with other things. Let's see what the link looks like for this one, and I'll just use their example here. Yeah, so this is the full screen view of it basically. So that's it. Yeah, that's juxtapose. Pretty useful. I guess I could try some SpongeBob images, but I think you get the point of how this works. So I believe that's all the tools I wanted to show you. Let me see. Let me check my notes. Yeah, that's all the tools I wanted to show you. There's others, and these are all, the ones that I've selected here are all useful because they're pretty quick. Like it's a pretty short path from having an idea to seeing if it works or not. So I recommend these as starting points. There are more sophisticated tools, and certainly you could always write code to do a lot of this stuff on your own without one of these tools, but that's really above and beyond for this module anyway. But these are fine. Like these are all good starting points. All right, sounds like somebody's throwing a tantrum upstairs. So I think I need to go see what's happening. Okay, I don't know, somebody's yelling. I don't know if you can hear that on the microphone. All right, those are my kids yelling at each other. There are more tools that are possible in here with Night Lab. Some of these don't work as well. They're, as they say, prototypes or experiments, so they may or may not work at all. But if it's something that solves a problem that you have or that lets you express something, then by all means. Okay, well I think I'm gonna wrap it up and go see what my kids are yelling about, and hopefully it's nothing too serious. But yeah, thanks for watching. I will do another one of these on Monday. I think on Monday I'll talk about cultural analytics or visual cultural analytics. It's kind of a mealy mouth, kind of wordy description. I don't know if there's a pithier, shorter way to explain it, but the kinds of things you can do with it are a lot of fun, I think. So it's my favorite module probably. So I will be showcasing that on Monday. You don't have to commit to a decision of which module you're going to work on yet, but if you already know, then by all means start working on it. That's fine. But if you're still waiting to see, that's okay too. All right, well, it's a nice sunny day, so hopefully you have a chance to get outside a bit. Stay safe and healthy and enjoy the weather if you can. It's very breezy. It's nice and sunny, but very, very breezy here. So I don't know. I should have worn a sweater. Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap it up then. If you have any questions, I'll stay online for a bit in Slack. Otherwise, I will see you all on Monday, or you will see me on Monday. All right, bye.